Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Think about the people in your life who seem to effortlessly draw others in. The ones who walk into a room and something shifts, people lean in. They remember what they said. They think about them later, without knowing why. Now ask yourself honestly, are you one of those people? Because most of you watching this are not. And that is not an insult. It is a diagnosis. You have been told that attraction is about looks, about confidence, about saying the right things. And you have tried those things. And it has not worked the way you hoped. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You are not missing a technique. You are missing an understanding of how the human mind actually works beneath the surface. Beneath words, beneath eye contact, beneath all of it. What makes a person truly unforgettable has almost nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with what you make other people feel about themselves when they are near you. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will not just understand this differently. You will see every interaction you have ever had in a completely new light. Identity reframe. Here is where most people go wrong. They treat social magnetism like a performance. They study body language. They memorize conversation tips. They try to be more interesting, more funny, more impressive. And in doing so, they commit the single most damaging mistake possible. They make every interaction about themselves, not consciously. They are not trying to be selfish, but the energy underneath their effort is notice me, like me, be impressed by me, and other people feel that energy. They cannot name it, but they feel it, and it creates resistance. Because the human mind does not bond to people who seek validation. It bonds to people who generate it. Most people think obsession is about being magnetic. The truth is, obsession is about being a mirror. A very specific kind of mirror. One that reflects back the best version of the person standing in front of you. This is not manipulation. This is mastery. And the people who operate at this level are not louder or more charismatic. They are more aware. They understand something about human psychology that most people will go their entire lives without grasping. You are about to grasp it. Structured framework. Principle 1. Presence is power. Here is the first thing you need to understand. Most people are physically in a conversation, but mentally somewhere else. They are thinking about what to say next. They are monitoring how they are coming across. They are distracted by their phone, their ego, their anxiety. The psychology is simple. The human brain is wired to detect attention. We evolved in social groups where being seen meant survival. When someone gives you their full, undivided, unperformed attention, something deep in your nervous system responds. You feel safe. You feel significant. You feel drawn to them. The common mistake is thinking presence means intense eye contact or nodding aggressively. That is, performed presence. And people can feel the difference. Real presence means your mind goes quiet. You become genuinely curious about the other person. You stop preparing and start receiving. Practice this once. In your next conversation, make it your only goal to understand the other person completely. Not to respond cleverly. Not to impress. Just to understand. Watch how they look at you differently at the end. That is not a trick. That is presence. And it is rarer than you think. Principle 2. The name beneath the name. Every person you meet has a version of themselves they are trying to prove to the world. The person who talks constantly about their work is trying to prove they are valuable. The person who jokes about everything is trying to prove they are not in pain. The person who seems impossibly confident is often fighting a quiet war against self-doubt. This is called the underlying narrative, and it runs every human being on the planet. The psychology behind this is decades deep. Your sense of self is not fixed. It is constantly being negotiated. And the people you feel closest to, most drawn to, slightly obsessed with, they are the people who, somehow, make your narrative feel validated, seen, real. The mistake most people make is responding to the surface. They hear the words. They miss the wound. What you want to develop is the ability to hear what is not being said. When someone brags, ask what they fear. When someone is cold, ask what they are protecting. Not out loud, in your mind, then speak to that. Not to the performance, to the person underneath it. A simple line like it sounds like that really matters to you does more psychological work than any clever compliment. Because it says, I see you. Not the version you are showing me. The real version. People will not forget that. They cannot. Principle 3. Strategic scarcity of approval. This is where it gets deeper. Most people, when they like someone, become immediately available. They respond instantly. They agree readily. They offer validation freely and frequently. And this destroys attraction at a neurological level. Here is the psychology. The brain has a reward system built around variable reinforcement, the same system that makes gambling addictive. When reward is consistent and predictable, the the brain stops paying attention to it. When reward is occasional and unpredictable, the brain becomes fixated on it. This is not cruelty. This is neuroscience. The mistake is confusing warmth with constant validation. You can be deeply warm and still be selective about what you affirm. In fact, selective praise is exponentially more powerful than constant praise. When you only acknowledge things that genuinely impress you, your acknowledgement means something. People begin to work for it, almost without realizing they are doing it. Do not fake this. Do not withhold warmth artificially. Simply raise the bar for your genuine enthusiasm. Reserve your deepest appreciation for what truly deserves it. The people around you will feel the difference, and they will think about you more because of it. Principle 4. The art of calibrated mystery. Let me tease something here that will come together fully near the end of this video. There is a deeper layer to all of this, a layer that goes beyond tactics entirely. But first, understand this principle because it feeds directly into that final insight. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about never being fully consumed. The psychology is this: the brain is a pattern completion machine. When you encounter something unfinished, your mind keeps working on it. A question without an answer, a sentence that trails off, a person who cannot quite be categorized. The mistake people make is over-explaining themselves. They want to be understood, so they tell everything. They share every opinion, every plan, every insecurity, and in doing so, they give the other person nothing to think about. The correction is not to become secretive or cold. It is to be comfortable with incompleteness. Let some things remain unspoken. Let people wonder. When someone asks what you are thinking, you do not have to tell them everything. Give them a thread, not the whole sweater. Leave a silence that invites them to lean in. Lean back slightly when they expect you to lean forward. Be interested without being eager. The people who do this are not playing games. They are simply comfortable in their own depths. Principle 5. The echo effect. Here is something most people have never been told about how memory works. The emotional peak of an interaction is what the brain remembers, not the whole conversation. Not everything you said. The feeling at the end, and the single most emotionally resonant moment in the middle. This is called the peak end rule, and it governs how people remember every experience they have, including you. The mistake is trying to be consistently good throughout an entire conversation. That is exhausting, and it is also psychologically ineffective. What you want to do is be intentional about the end. How does someone feel when they walk away from you? Seen, energized, slightly intrigued. One powerful way to control this is to leave on a high. End the interaction slightly before the other person wants it to end. Give them a genuine, specific observation or compliment right before you leave, something they will think about later. You have a way of explaining things that makes people feel like they already understood it. I noticed that. That is specific. It is true. It lands somewhere real, and they will hear it again in their head, hours later. That is the echo effect, and it is entirely by design. Principle 6. Align identity projection. We are now approaching the deeper layer I mentioned earlier. Every person you interact with is constantly, unconsciously asking one question: who does this person think I am? Not who you are, who they think you are, because people rise or fall to meet the version of themselves they see reflected in your eyes. If you treat someone like they are ordinary, they will feel ordinary around you. If you treat someone like they are someone who is capable, intelligent, on the verge of something important, something in them responds. This is not flattery. Flattery is empty, and people know it. This is projection. You identify something genuinely true and impressive about a person, and you speak to them from within that reality. You are the kind of person who is one of the most powerful sentence openers in human communication, because it does not just describe, it constructs, it tells someone who they are. And if it resonates, they will protect that identity, and they will associate the feeling of being that person with being near you. Escalation phase. Now we go somewhere most people never look. Everything we have covered so far is skill, and skill matters. But skill without this next layer is just technique, and people can eventually feel the difference between technique and truth. Here is the higher level insight. The reason these principles work is not because they manipulate people. It is because they align with what every human being is desperately searching for: to be seen, to be understood, to feel that who they are matters. The world is extraordinarily loud. People are surrounded by noise, comparison, distraction, and a constant low-level message that they are not enough, that they need to be more productive, more attractive, more successful. And then they encounter someone who, for reasons they cannot fully articulate, makes all of that noise go quiet. That is you. When you operate from this understanding, you are not chasing people's attention. You are becoming the rare space where people feel real. where they feel like the best version of themselves is not a future goal, but a present reality. This shifts everything, because now you are not practicing attraction. You are practicing something closer to genuine human connection. You are developing the rare ability to make people feel what they most want to feel, and they will seek that feeling out, repeatedly, without even fully knowing why. This is the shift from tactics to identity, from doing to being. And this is where the transformation becomes real. Final revelation. Here is the thing no one says out loud. The most obsessively magnetic people in the world are not focused on being magnetic. They are focused on other people, genuinely, deeply, curiously focused on other people. Everything in this video, the presence, the mystery, the mirroring, the projection, it all originates from one source. And that source is this. The people who cannot be forgotten are the people who make you feel like you cannot be forgotten. It is not a technique. It is a philosophy, a way of moving through the world that says, the person in front of me is worth my full attention. Their story is worth hearing. Their best version is worth calling forward. When you operate from that place, not as a performance, but as a genuine orientation, something changes. You stop being someone who is trying to be liked. You become someone who is genuinely interested in people. And that, counterintuitively, is the most powerful form of attraction that exists. It is not about making people obsessed with you. It is about becoming someone worth being obsessed with. And you become that not by improving your image, but by deepening your awareness of others, and ultimately of yourself. Closing CTA, here is the question I want to leave you with. In your daily interactions, are you trying to be seen, or are you trying to see? Because the answer to that question determines everything about how people experience you. Most people will watch this and look for the technique. A smaller group will understand the deeper shift, and a very small group will actually make that shift and find that their entire experience of human connection changes because of it. Which group are you in? If something in this video reached a part of you that you have been ignoring, I want to know. Comment the word aware below. Not from me, as a declaration to yourself. Because awareness, once activated, does not go back to sleep.